Latinos face a number of hurdles in trying to reach academic and economic success. Steve Corona with Latinos Count is working hard to fill their sails on the Midwest Flourish. Greetings, I'm Rick Farrant, and I'm your host for the Midwest Flourish, and our guest today is Steve Corona, who is the Executive Director of Latinos Count. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
That name alone carries a message, and a pretty powerful message, actually, and I suspect that some of the things we'll talk about today, we'll get into that. I should also mention, too, introduced you as the Executive Director of Latinos Count, but you have been involved over the years in so many community activities. It's really quite remarkable, and we'll get to that at some point, too. So Latinos Count says that its mission is to prepare Latino students for global opportunities after high school. And perhaps you can give a broad overview of what that means, including the two specific goals that I understand Latinos Count is trying to. One is to make sure high school graduates have an exit strategy, a productive exit strategy, and that more Latino students pursue college. So maybe you can just talk a little bit in generalities.
Sure.
About, yeah.
First of all, most people spell Latinos Count wrong. They want to put an apostrophe between the O and the S. And if they thought about it, that means that we would only be focused on one Latino. And it's remarkable.
So you're giving us a lesson in possessives.
I am. I'm going to
okay.
check your spelling after we finish this session. But, the name came, Sal Soto and I were looking at an organization to essentially succeed United Hispanic Americans, which was around for a long time, went bankrupt in 2012, and it left Fort Wayne without an agency to serve Latino families and youth. And I had been thinking of this name because in one of the early census reports, it showed a remarkable increase in the number of Latinos in Northeast Indiana. And so it was really, at that time, a name that meant two things. I mean, it's not only that, hey, we're growing as a population in this area, but it was also that second inference that we really do matter. Although I shied away from that a little bit after Black Lives Matter came and exploded and was taken wrong by so many people. But to me, we've stayed true to that title, that name.
You don't think, though, that Latinos Count maybe has the same kind of feel to it that the Black Lives Matter has?
To some people, but I will tell you, I think it's the culture we try to propagate that is, I believe, a part of the Latino community, which is a very strong work ethic and very focused on doing something. I mean, I think it's very family-oriented. And so I think that just by what we've done and accomplished has really set us apart, where I don't think a lot of people relate Latinos Count to Black Lives Matter. That's what I believe. Mm-hmm. But back to your original question.
Yeah, sorry.
We had a board chair when we were getting started. We became a 501c3 in 2012, and I went out recruiting a board. And one of the first guys I turned to was Alfredo Perez, and he was at the time working for Johnson & Johnson, and his marketing job took him around the world. And so as we were thinking about who we were going to be and what was our statement going to be, it was Alfredo that came up with this phrase, preparing Latino youth for global opportunities. And when he said that, it was like, wow, I was thinking something much smaller and more humble, like, serving Fort Wayne or Northeast Indiana, and he's talking about the world. And as I thought about it, I said, that really is in what General Electric used to tell its executives, this was a stretch goal to make young people believe that they could prosper anywhere in the world if they apply themselves. And so we've used it and we've not changed it. I to this day like it, and it to me is a very powerful statement.
So generally speaking, because we can pick off each individual one, what is it that you're doing exactly through Latinos Count?
And I like this because one of the other things that we've been mindful of is mission creep, which a lot of organizations and businesses do and get themselves in trouble. In order to support that mission or vision, we, along the way, created two basic goals that you just talked about. One was to increase the number of Latino youth that go to school. And then secondly, to increase the number of Latino youth that have a game plan. I call it an exit strategy. It's, when you're walking out the door, that sign above the door says exit. Before you leave, I want young people to think about what they're going to do. Studies have seen that all high school graduates, a third of them have no idea what the hell they're going to do. And so my line is, there is a certain finite time that your parents will allow you to stay in the basement playing games. You need to get the hell out of the basement. So to support that activity, we have created this event, a career exploration event that we call Positive Pathways. And so we talk about 5 positive pathways from high school. And, if you thought about it, they make a lot of sense. One is you're going to go to college, and here's where we departed. And, we've been on this track for a while, is for so long, and I think to this day, too many high school counselors talk about going to college. And that is the end-all, be-all of, that segue from high school to wherever you're heading. Well, we learned a long time ago that that's not the case. And particularly with Latino families where it's, we need you to work right now. We need you to help support the family, or we don't have money to send you to school right now. So we began thinking about the other options that really make sense for a lot of people, and that is college work, military enlistment. I think there's a greater percentage of Latino youth that do sign up and enlist, and we think that's a good option. It was an option my youngest son, Vince, took, served 5 years as an airborne ranger. The fourth one is to consider an apprenticeship program. And then the fifth one is to start your own business. And with those others, especially the last two, I think there's still merit to that. In fact, this was real interesting. At a recent school board meeting, the administration brought before us a recommendation on an electrical contractor, some electrical work. We only got one bid. And so I asked our facilities people, were you disappointed by that? And they said, yes. And I said, what's going on? They said, there's a shortage of electricians. There's a lot of work. Google and IU Health is swallowing up a lot of tradespeople in the area. It's not going to change for the near future. And that, to me, is another indication that going to college is not the only option, that there are great paying jobs if you like working outside, if you like working with your hands. And there are young people who want to do that. So we promote that. And then the other part, the fifth one, going back to that entrepreneurship, is that especially if you are undocumented, provided Trump doesn't get a hold of you, you are here. You legally cannot perform those other activities. You are not eligible for financial aid. So a number of young people, we encourage young people to think about starting your own business. Mm-hmm. So those are the 5 options or pathways that we talk to for those kids that we are focused on who are not going to go to college.
Right, and how are you reaching these kids?
Well, with the Positive Pathways events, we rely heavily on our guidance counselors in our high schools. And so we now have every March 3 Positive Pathway events. And we're going to repeat this again in March of 2026. We'll have 300 kids at Purdue Fort Wayne, and we've got a half-days program that will allow them to do a couple of things, is to, first of all, explore those options. We will bring in what we call Latino champions and pathway champions. So they're simply representatives from those 5 areas that will talk to young people. We'll have a fair where conversations can continue. But the other part is that we will then bring in Latino and Latina champions to have small group conversations with young people. One of the things that we are very sensitive to is moving away from the old style learning that too many organizations rely on, and that is you find 3 people, you set them on stage for 45 minutes, and the kids listen for about a minute, and then they pull out their phones and say, screw this. I'm turned off. And in fact, it's what adults do too. It just doesn't work. So all of our conversations are in small groups where there is actually a conversation between that champion or expert and the students, and sometimes in Spanish. It's really, really cool. I was in a middle school classroom a couple of weeks ago, and we walked in and out of classrooms, and there were a couple of things that struck me. One was the pace of learning. You need to get inside a classroom, and you need to see the structure of how learning now occurs with young people who have little tolerance for people blabbering on for minutes and minutes. And so, I've always thought that teachers are performers, and they have 5 or 6 performances a day. I don't know how they do that. I really don't. But they understand the fact that the pace has to be moving and that they have to rely on various media to entertain and inform young people. And so it really buttresses our thinking as to how we impart information and knowledge to young people.
Yeah, you're right on, Mark. And we've done some focus groups in classrooms, and we've met some of those kids.
Is that what you hear?
Absolutely. That they are tired of being talked to, flat out. So you're talking about if somebody stands up there for 50 minutes and is talking at them,
right?
They will tune out in a heartbeat.
I mean, look at the length of a TikTok video, right?
Yeah.
No more than 60 seconds.
Yeah. I was going to say this was the elephant in the room, but you've already let the elephant out when you were mentioning immigration. So the current immigration actions that we're seeing now, and the uncertainty, say, of the DACA program,
right.
the Dreamers. What kind of impact is that having on your efforts now? And down the road, assuming that things don't change, what kind of impact might that have?
Well, it is affecting what we do. We're not going to change our name. I mean, there are organizations still around with titles that people appreciate and understand. The National Association of Colored People, NAACP, is still there. You're going to see Latinos Count continue, but I'll tell you one area that we are right now fixing is our scholarship program. It's called the Viva College Scholarship Program. We currently award $2,000 scholarships. Last year, we awarded 33 of those to students graduating, to students still in school. We have been told that based upon a couple of things, a recent Supreme Court ruling that came out in 2024, and then what the Trump administration is doing with wiping out DEI programs and anything that has that label because they believe it is somehow evil, we've got a role. And so one of the requirements that we're going to remove from our scholarship program is that our applicants have at least one parent of Latino or Hispanic ancestry. We know that if we continue to award a young person a scholarship based on at least that criterion point, we will have schools that will decline that scholarship because they are afraid of retribution.
So there will be no ethnicity requirement? In other words,
No.
these scholarships could be for anyone.
Yes.
However, they are being given out by Latinos Count.
Yes. And so we're working with attorneys right now to figure out what are the qualifying factors that we can continue with that in many ways describes the young people we've been serving. It may be that one of the qualifications is that in your essay that you write to us is that you talk about your resilience to adversity. Because so many of the young people that we award scholarships to go through a lot, whether they're recent arrivals, and they talk about that journey from wherever they came from, Mexico, Guatemala, Central America, the Honduras, there's a story to tell. And in addition to that, their parents are of low income, low education. They have no health insurance. They've been through what many families could not sustain, and that's stress in the family. So I see a lot of single parents. I see a lot of health issues with those families. And so going back to, one factor that may help us identify who is worthy, I think resilience is one of them. I'll tell you the other thing that I was mindful of is that recently there was an announcement that Michael Dell was creating this $1 billion program, announced it in the Oval Office with the president standing there. And as I was reading the details of Michael's scholarship program, one of them was that family income is going to be one of them, but there are other factors that he's using that I'm thinking might be very helpful for us to consider too.
Yeah, I really didn't think you were, that's really interesting. I didn't necessarily think you were going in that direction. Where I was which is fine, what I was thinking about too was, especially when you're talking about preparing young people for global opportunities.
Yeah.
I would have to think that there are a lot of people in the Latino community, because of what's going on, that are thinking there are no global opportunities for us.
There are, and they may be in their home country. I'll give you one example. I had a young man a couple of years ago who I believe loved biology and plants. And he was undocumented, had no legal status in this country. And as I was listening to him and listening to what he believed his options were, I finally just said to him, you may have better options in your home country. And he looked at me and he nodded. And so it may be, Rick, that what some people decide, because these are very, very bright people, and going back to our vision statement of preparing young people for global opportunities, some may find out that their best option is not in the United States.
Which, of course,
and that is a terrible loss for our country.
Yeah, I was just going to say that does absolutely nothing for our workforce.
Well, anyway, I can follow that line, but I'm not. But it's sad when we lose talent like that.
Yeah, another hurdle that Latinos and frankly other people that come into this country are language barriers. Mm-hmm. What other than the things you've already talked about, is there anything that we haven't addressed that might be a hurdle? And where language barriers are concerned, how is Latinos Count, if it is at all, helping people through that? Language
barriers are an issue, and I'll tell you where the problem is largely with parents who speak broken English, Spanglish, as some call it, but the language they prefer is Spanish. So consider this: you want your son or daughter to go to school. You are given this information, which is very complicated in English to begin with, about what you need to go to school and how much it costs, and you don't know what this counselor just told you. You're smiling and shaking your head. Oh, yeah. You have no idea what the hell they just said. And what recent studies have indicated is that Hispanic parents overestimate the cost of college. So instead of what it is, if let's just say $3,500 per semester at Ivy Tech, they think it's $7,000. And so they're thinking in their heads, how in the hell am I going to pay for this? I've got 3 younger kids in high school and middle school. How can I pay for Maria and Jose and all of our family when the cost is this high? Well, it's not that high. It's this. Now, this is the correct amount. So we need to make sure that parents who have limited comprehension of the English language understand really what the true cost is, and that we then begin to communicate with them. One of the things, this is pretty exciting, one of the things we've pledged to the Don Wood Foundation, because they've given us a lot of money to expand our services, is to begin meeting with parents and and talking to them in Spanish. Oh, and perhaps we don't do it at school. Maybe we do it at church. Maybe we do it at a community center. I'll give you a perfect example. St. Joe Catholic Church on Brooklyn Avenue. I was over there meeting with the principal, and they run a K through 8 school. And I said, well, how many students? About 180. And how many of them are Latino? 95%. I said, whoa, this is the gold mine for Latinos Count. And what I told her is that, look, we can come on the weekend. They have a Spanish Mass on Sunday at noon. I can go a couple of blocks away, go to George's, get some Mexican chocolate, some conchas and other Mexican sweets, and we can invite the parents in, talk to them in Spanish, and have those conversations there when they're already someplace. I think that's the other issue for parents of all color is convenience and the fact that their lives are so busy. And it's like, you want me to come to another meeting? Mm-hmm. No, I'm not. And so we're really going to break the mold about where we meet parents. And it's not going to be sometime between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, we've talked about that on a number of podcasts about the whole importance of parental involvement. We have a fair number of Latino leaders in the Fort Wayne area.
Sort of.
I said fair. You're one of them. But how do we get people to recognize the contributions that we have in the community already?
Well, I think I have a solution, sort of. This past year in 2025, our organization, along with the Hispanic Chamber and the Hispanic Leadership Coalition, came together for the first time. Isn't that a great idea, partnerships? And I'm saying that in a satiric tone of voice, but we came together. We have different population groups and different people that follow us in the Latino community, but what we did was we came together to create a leadership training program for individuals interested in serving on nonprofit boards. So because we did this one-day training. We hired a guy, Mike Stone, who does board development work all the time. There were 30 individuals who were in that day-long program. And what we did was we identified these individuals or made nonprofit boards aware that they had experienced this training program, because what I hear is that when foundations give money to nonprofits and we check their board roster and find no Latino names on it, we ask them, have you tried? Yes, we've tried, we can't find them. And they're correct.
And your board is largely made up of Latinos.
Absolutely.
Correct?
We have more Latinos than any other board in this community, and we're damn proud of it.
We have a few minutes left.
That's all?
Oh, it goes very fast, Steve. You can come back at some point. And so I want to run through this. There are a couple things that I wanted to mention. I'm going to kind of lump them together with a question. I have a last question I really want to get to. But some of the things that you've done, you've been on the Fort Wayne Community School Board here in Indiana since 1981.
Right, longest serving board member in the state of Indiana.
You
right
might
now.
be the longest serving board member anywhere. I don't know if we've ever looked into
There's a couple of people that have served more time, but I will stay on the board until my current term expires, which is December 2028.
Okay, but that's remarkable.
Yeah.
You also at one time oversaw the JobWorks program here. So one of the questions that I have, because you've been able to view education and you've been able to view workforce development, and both of them. You once had a quote that said, you may not remember this. I don't remember everything I said. No, I don't. But this is what you said. It's not about how much do you want to make, but how hard you're willing to work. I think we have a willingness to work problem here. I think we have it throughout the country. Do you share that view? And if so, why are we in this position?
I will tell you what I tell young people. First of all, I tell young people is I'm jealous of you. And they look at me and like, what is this old man talking about? And what I tell them is that I'm jealous of you because you can do anything you want if you're willing to work for it. And what we preach is that our efforts are not to lower the bar. Our efforts are to help you understand where the bar is set, the qualifications are set, the expectations are set, and we're going to help you get over that bar. And I believe that there are just too many young people who believe that those rules, those requirements don't apply to them, and yet they do. It's still a very difficult thing to find a good job and keep it. But I believe that once you demonstrate to an employer what you're willing to do, you're more than halfway there. We always talk about how employers don't need folks with a number of technical skills. They need to show up, right? We both know that. Correct. Show up. Work as a team. Be courteous, smile. It's all those soft skills that so many people fail to understand. In fact, it's one of the exercises we go through with young people.
Yeah, show up on time.
Yeah, that I talk about.
Oh, you're willing to forgive the show up on time.
I'm not. You got to show up every day on time.
I want to get to something else here quickly. Where does your passion come from in driving Latinos Count?
I love helping young people. It really feels good. And it goes back to, in part, what I said before. It's not the money. I don't make a lot of money. I don't want a lot of money. It's really using my life and the connections that I've acquired for their benefit. And I do that every day. I tell you what, when I go into a room with people, I work it, man. I work it hard. I'm shaking hands, smiling, grabbing business cards, because I'm trying to figure out how can I use that other person's position of influence, power, accessibility to something my kids need.
But see, particularly Latinos, right? You could have formed an organization that. Well, I mean, maybe that's a no-duh question, but.
Well, I'm Mexican American. My 4 grandparents came from Mexico. My grandfather came over with a 3rd grade education, and somehow he learned how to read and write and communicate in English, worked through the Depression throughout that period of time. There's always been that strong work ethic that he imparted to us. I have, in turn, given that to my kids. I delivered newspapers when, there was still a newspaper to be delivered. I did it for 10 years with my 4 kids. It just about killed me. But I tell you what, that time with them, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to deliver the Journal-Gazette was time well worth it. I see it in what they do.
Yeah. We're going to have to wrap things up. I wish we didn't, because this has been fascinating. But I did want to mention that...
Is the reel of tape coming to the end? Is that what's happening here?
No, it's not the reel of tape. It's the time that we try to confine ourselves to. But I'm saying there's always a
I'm
possibility.
sure
of
your
coming-
viewers and listeners are going to say, bring back that guy.
Well, if they actually, if we can bring you back based on demand, absolutely. We can also bring you back because I know there's a lot more to discuss. Latinos Count, among other things, is looking for mentors.
Yes.
To work with these students. I'm sure there are other things. How can people get in touch with Latinos Count? What's the best way to do that?
The best thing is they can go to our website and let them know that, or they can send me an email. My information is readily available. We are looking for mentors, especially mentors under the age of 30. That's a sweet spot that I think those young people and their experiences will resonate with high school kids.
And are you looking for Latino mentors? You're not necessarily looking
Yes,
for anyone,
Latino
right?
mentors.
Are you looking for Spanish-speaking mentors?
Some they can speak. That would be a bonus. But young Latina mentors, and what we have found out is that they have shared experiences. It's so important for young people to see somebody who looks like them and may have those same experiences. It's powerful.
Thank you for stopping by. It's been a great conversation. I hope we have more conversations.
Happy to come back.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's episode of the Midwest Flourish podcast. Want to dig deeper or get involved? Head to marketingthemidwest.com to explore how we can work together to empower your community to flourish. Let's keep the Midwest momentum going and shape the future of our region together.